Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out this evening. I think we were all a little surprised by, the forecast was, just a little bit of coating and sleet. Well, it's a bit more than that. So thank you for coming out. Really appreciate it. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Just want to thank everybody for coming. We have a pretty full agenda tonight. Big part of it being the first reading of the budget. So I'm not going to say much else right now. We're going to move forward and move through the agenda best as we can. So if I can have approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes as written.
All right, we have a second? Second by Jamie. Any discussion about the minutes? All right, all in favor? Okay, are there any adjustments to the agenda today?
Yeah, we just won't have 7.2, just because we told the students not to come. And then we also were going to recognize some of our swimmers here tonight, and also indoor track state champions, but we also told them to stay home as well. So that's it.
We'll do that another time. All right. So 6.0, this is a public session, and I think we may have some people who want to speak tonight. So I just want to go over a few things just as a reminder. We appreciate you being here. Appreciate you wanting to speak. Just so you know, here's just a few rules. Please, when you get up, give us your name, give us the town you're from, and direct any comments to the board. And we'd like them to be succinct, like about 3 minutes the most, please. And it should be directed to a specific agenda item. So something that's on the agenda tonight that you're concerned about, or for, against, whatever it is, that's fine. And it's an opportunity for us to listen. And the part I really want to make clear, because sometimes when people speak and the board is silent, they think we're not listening. We are listening. The public portion is not a discussion. It's really a chance for us to hear where you are and what you are concerned about. And we certainly are open to meeting with you if you think it mounts to that concern. We're always available via email, and we can make arrangements to meet if that's something folks need to do. So I don't want you to think we're not listening just because it doesn't turn into a discussion. We just really want to hear where you are, and that's how that works. We welcome, constructive comments, criticism of policy, no attacks to individuals, please, and just a basic rules of decorum obviously apply in a public meeting, but we welcome your thoughts and concerns. So with that, if anyone would like to come up and speak, there's a microphone right here. Come right up, give us your name and what town you're from, if you'd like to speak. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Alan Sarvinas. I live in Topsom with my wife and 2 sons. I'm also here speaking for Parents' Rights in Education, Maine. We're a 501c3 nonpartisan nonprofit that help parents inform parents of their rights and then empower them and train them to speak for themselves. The last 4 or 5 months, I've been working with one parent, but then a few more about the school choice policy in the district. It was unfortunate that I tried to make the policy committee meeting, but that's at 8 o'clock, I believe 8 o'clock in the morning. I tried to find a Zoom link. I couldn't find the Zoom link. So I had a real hard time directing the parents I was talking to come to the policy meeting to find out what the discussion was about. There was a petition circulating, but myself, I didn't want to come down myself and start pushing for signatures until really wanted to get the urge or the solution from parents in the district. But I don't have any information for them, like I said, because I don't have any access to the policy committee. So I'm hoping that the discussion at policy committee was aligned with so much of the petition. It wasn't handed in yet, wasn't processed fully. But the point is that there are the district has an the district has an inter-school choice district policy. And there seems to be students being accepted by the superintendent outside the district before the inter-school district applications are processed, if that makes sense. And for one, and regarding the policy meeting, I figured this one would be good for policy KCB, working with community members in regards to policy. So I urge the board to prioritize taxpayers in RSU1 when it comes to choice, inter-school choice, and then lastly, those who are not paying taxes. And if there is, could go back to policy committee, so there's a little more input from the committee, from the district. It'll help parents that are concerned about this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak? Okay. Yeah, that will, if you've seen the agenda, we are going to address that. It's a first reading, so it's not, so there's still time for discussion between this meeting, certainly, and next meeting. So it's just the first reading of the policy as it's been redone, I guess, or rewritten somewhat. So we'll look at that, and certainly there'll be opportunities for discussion, and that we'll have, I think the board will explain a little bit. So that's where that is. So thank you. All right. We're at 7.0. Patrick?
Yeah, Selena Reed is here tonight. She's a music teacher at Phippsburg and at Dyke Newell, and we're very fortunate to have her in our district. And she is going to make a brief presentation to you. And again, we appreciate you staying through today to do this, on student-led improvisational music, and a little bit of her current research that she's done with, I think, mostly second graders. Okay, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for your time. Yeah, my name is Selena Reed. I'm the elementary music school teacher at Dyke Newell School and Phippsburg Elementary. And I just wanted to show you a little bit of what's going on in RSU1 elementary music schools in our school. And a lot of it is early childhood informal musicking or music making. And what I mean by informal music making, if we can move to the next slide, is student-led music making and improvisational music making. So improvising being the students are making up their music on the spot. I have a picture up of a bulletin board I have at Dyke Newell that says there are no wrong notes. And many times I ask students to step into a space where there are no wrong notes and to see what they create. It's actually something really incredible. This next video, you will see a small improvisational activity. It's like 2 minutes, and it's all focused on rhythm. What you'll hear me ask the students first is to be the same as me. So some students might be coming in with a musical toolbox full of things to share that day, and some might not. So when I ask them to be the same as me, I'm giving them a few tools in their toolbox if they would like something to share. Then I ask them to be different than me and to make up a rhythm that is different than me on a neutral syllable, something really low stakes. And that's where the magic happens, where students are creating something from their own brain. And then you'll hear me ask them if anyone wants to do the teacher job to raise their hand. And that's where they can share their creations with their classmates.
My mother, your mother lived across the way. Every night they'd have a chat, and this is what they'd say. Be the same as me. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum bum bum. My mother, your mother lived across the way. Every night they'd have a chat, and this is what they'd say. Be different than me now. Bum 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 bum. My mother, your mother lived across the way. Every night they'd have a chat, and this is what they'd say. Be different than me. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. like to do the teacher job and give us some bumps to be different, then raise your hand as we march. I'll look around for teachers. Ready? Here we go. My mother, your mother lived across the way. Every night they have a chat, and this is what they say. Be different than Cohen. Be different than James. That's okay. You can make up anything you want. There are no wrong bum-bums. Bum, 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 bum. Be different than Lenny. Bum, 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 bum. Be different than Aurelia. Bum, 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 bum. I'm still looking around for teachers. My mother, your mother.
So what's actually happening in that video is something incredible, rhythmically speaking. So looking at the next slide, on the left side, I have rhythms that curriculum-wise, these are rhythms that our first graders can read, write, create, and perform in on the left side. On the right side are the rhythms that you heard students creating. And if we look at the middle rhythm on the right side, we're not even seeing that in high school curriculum rhythm-wise. And this is what students are creating when I'm just asking them to be different than me, which is so, so cool. So moving to the next slide, we can improve students' musical fluency with informal music making, bring them independent musicianship opportunities, the ability to create in a small group. In a 2016 Lucy Green study, she found that 90% of her students preferred informal music making activities to formal or teacher-led music making activities. And those informal activities increased engagement and motivation. But all of this research is on students secondary level and above. So last year I wondered what my second grade students were experiencing during informal music making activities and formal music making activities. So I performed and published research on this. I led a few formal teacher-led music activities, and I had students interview each other. I wanted to avoid that teacher-student power dynamic. I had students interview each other on what their experience was like during those music making activities, those formal ones. And then I created the most informal music activity possible. I asked second graders to pick the instrument they wanted to play, pick the people they wanted to play it with, and make the music that they wanted to make. And I stepped back for 30 minutes. Which was terrifying, but it was incredible to see what they came up with. And students interviewed each other on their experiences. And we'll see that data in the next slide. These two charts are very similar. For both formal and informal music making, students reported mostly pleasant experiences. Then, of course, students are experiencing something unpleasant as well. Maybe they both wanted to play the xylophone and only one of them could play. Then we're affected by outside elements. Maybe we're hungry, worried about soccer practice after school. Some students reported a neutral experience. My favorite was one student said that it was mid. And there is only one data point that was unique to the informal music making activities versus the formal, and that is this awareness of the self within the music making activity, calling the music my music, describing the music as something that they can be proud of, and this awareness of expression. So you know what, I'll let the students tell you about it in this next slide.
What were you feeling? What were you feeling in this? I was feeling, well, basically a combination of between anger and no, not anger, I was feeling like I'm expressing a lot. What we were thinking about.
I was thinking about doing a good job.
When?
When I was playing the xylophone.
Why?
Well, because I liked my music.
what we were thinking about.
What everybody was gonna use.
When?
When we were playing our instruments, I wondered if anybody was gonna change their instruments.
Why?
I don't know why. Did your feelings change to excited?
No.
So they stayed happy?
Yes.
Were you feeling good and proud of yourself?
Yes.
Me too.
So, second grade students self reporting, feeling proud of themselves, feeling like the music belonged to them, feeling like they could express a lot through the music. And that was second graders talking to their own peers about their music making experience with informal music making.
What do you feel?
So, what does this look like when we get to performance spaces? My last video is a clip from the winter concert at Phippsburg Elementary School. You'll see fourth graders up here on stage. Now, we only had at this point, I think 11 fourth graders at Phippsburg Elementary School. All of the other people on stage are community members. I had the pleasure of coming up to the microphone and inviting community members from our audience to come play drums with us because we were entering the world of no wrong notes. And whether they felt like they were good musicians or not, they could come up and play and be part of our music making community. I'm right there in the center, and you might be able to hear right at the very beginning, my only instruction is 1, 2, make something new. And everyone begins to create music at the same time. And you'll see some fourth graders hop in and begin to facilitate that improvisational music making. So all of the higher level creative choices that they are making in that moment on stage is absolutely incredible. You can hear what they come up with. So this is what students are creating when I just ask them to make something new. And that's music that can never be created the same way again because it wasn't written down, it wasn't told to the students, it belonged to them and it belonged to us as a community. So that is what is happening in RSU1 elementary music classrooms right now. I have a few references at the end if you would like to look at the research right now on informal music making. I have that that I can send to you as well. But thank you so much for your time.
That's great. Thank you so much. That's great. Very exciting. Any other comments? No. Thank you for that. It's fantastic. All right. We've got committee reports, Finance Committee.
I think we can wait
You want to
till,
wait till the,
yeah, the
reading?
budget
Okay, because
presentation.
that's what
Yeah.
it's all about. So yeah, okay, we're gonna move on. To the student board rep report. Hey, folks.
All right, we don't have too much today, but we do want to start off with a congratulations to Morse Drama. They just put on a wonderful show, Puffs, which is a 2-hour comedy play kind of based on Harry Potter. It was an artistic feat with countless props, beautiful set design, and over 500 costume pieces that were managed by just 2 students. They put on 3 shows, 1 on Friday and 2 on Saturday. And spring sports are starting next week, so we're looking forward to that if we're not snowed in.
Is this there? It's on? All right. And then also, we recently just had our annual freshman awareness couple of days. This consisted of 2 days between Hyde School and Bowdoin, where our freshman class went to these schools and saw seminars and guest speakers talk about self-esteem, drug awareness, and mental health that usually is a good time for the students. Heard very positive things. And then another thing is that just recently, this past weekend, Morse has participated in an annual volleyball tournament for the 2nd year running. And Charlie Bingham and Andrew Pelletier right here have played critical roles in making that happen, as well as a potential effort to make it an official sanctioned sport in the following year that Morse really is looking forward to hopefully participate in.
Great. That's great. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see. Superintendent's report.
First thing I'll say is Bath Tech went to Skills USA competition in Bangor March 14th. And I just want to list off the students that received and placed in that competition. So in criminal justice, we had Olivia Warlick, who won a bronze medal. In advertising design, we had Madison Terrance win a bronze medal. Early childhood education, we had Kylie Bouchard win a silver medal. In cabinet making, Henry Putnam won a bronze medal. In prepared speech, Everett Hunter won a silver medal. And for the quiz bowl, we had EJ Hunt, Lila Neptune, Benner, Nathan Tharp, Alyssa Kamiga, and they won a bronze medal as a team. And in action skills, Shakira Cyprian won a silver medal, and Carter Colomb took home a gold medal. So it's a great experience for our kids, and to have 11 students place was very impressive this year. A couple other items, just busy with, you saw it in the reports, but with elementary schools visiting Maine Maritime Museum, patent-free library, kinder concert, which I think happened today with our schools, but also other schools that were here at Morse. And Chewonki been visiting our schools to do animal presentations, and also Kelt has been here doing the SALTY program, which stands for See Animal for Tomorrow's Youth. Read Across America was in March. We had a lot of guest readers come into our schools, which is great. And also we have many of our swim lessons that are taking place for our 3rd grade students at various schools. Aurora mentioned the play. Morse Fine Arts Night was another one that happened a couple weeks before that. And it's just great to see the students' artistic ability here, as well as the choral and the rock band, which they're loud, but they're good. And then for Puffs, I was able to come Saturday night, and just a thank you to Sarah Coleman, and for the students. I mean, I think it's 3 months that they've been working on this play, and it's a lot of time, effort. And for me, the best part is at the end of that play to see the 40 to 50 to 60 students come out on stage, and it's just 40 or 50 students that might be sitting home doing nothing, even if they have a part on stage crew or whatever their part is. It's very important. It's pivotal to make that work. So again, I'd like to thank her, because it's a long 3 months, and the parents that have their students, their children come out every single night. It's neat to see. And that's it. And I would say too, pass on one other thing. I was in an English class today, and there was a student from theater, and she shared with her whole classmates, as well as with Eric and Katie and I, that she was writing a piece on how theater in general has really provided her with self-confidence, support, and just something she'll never forget in her time.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Deb, we've got the financial report.
Okay. We're looking tonight at the end of February, 8th month in, 66%. So we've spent almost $26 million, about 59%. So things are going well. Spending's on track with our projections. As far as revenue goes, the same situation down there is that we've brought in almost, well, a little over 29 million. And so we're on track with that, keeping an eye on all the grants, making sure that we're spending those down as we should be. So, and then working on the budget. And that's it.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Jen?
I really appreciate the grants being put on here because it really reminds me how much grant money that we see. We just spend a lot of time seeking that isn't, really helps keep our budget
Right.
in line. It's really good for me to constantly be looking at that. And I thank everyone who takes the time to apply for that money. I was just wondering, have the enrollment numbers changed anything dramatically on?
I wouldn't think anything dramatically. I think
Okay.
the last report that I looked at was like 2090. So
Okay.
it was close.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay, where are we at? So now 11.0 old business. So this is a second reading of board policies. These are action items. So we have, I'm just going to read them for the record here. You have FB 11.1, well, FB facilities planning, FF naming of facilities, FFA memorials, and IKFB graduation exercises. You saw this on the last month. So this one is action unless anyone has any questions, issues. Yes.
Can I make a motion?
Yes, by all means.
I move that we accept them all together,
Yes.
and I move the approval.
Okay.
Second.
And a second from Jamie. Any other discussion or questions? All right, all in favor? Okay, those pass. And now we move on to 12.0, new business. And Katie, you are up.
Thank you. I have 3 quick items I wanted to mention. In looking over the board goals, we haven't talked about any of the initiatives under number 2, the safe and supportive schools goal. So I'm going to share an update on those to help Jen out with her part. And so I know this was mentioned in a couple of the principals' reports, but we have had, after our pilot last spring with just 6th grade, 2nd graders, 4th graders, and 6th graders now this year doing the LEADS program with the Bath Police and the Saginaw Sheriff's Office, both to help with substance use issues as well as building positive relationships and making good choices, essentially, are the themes across all the different grades. And it's gone wonderfully in our schools. And I'm not sure if in Connor's report for Bath Middle School, the 6th grade in particular, which we know can be a tricky time for when students start making different choices, they've already seen some positive impacts of the kinds of behavior that seem different than in years past, which is excellent. And also just students building relationships with law enforcement in a different and really positive way. And so I just wanted to let you know that it's going very well. We plan to continue it. And we're so thankful for the time that they've been giving us because, it takes multiple officers coming in weekly to do these lessons for our students. And so we're really, really appreciative of that. So obviously that's helping with that goal. Also, we had Dustin Ward, who was running our DEI committee last year. I took that over this year. And I just wanted to let you know that that group has still been meeting monthly. And our current plan is really exciting, is taking the vision and mission and plan he helped us create and working to provide a template that all of our schools will go through next year to really have them be thoughtful, proactive around the theme of all are welcome here. Are we really doing what we say we're doing? How does that look in our practices for all different kinds of staff and students and families? And one of the ways we're sort of tackling, adjusting that plan for our schools is having different groups of students and staff in. So this past week, we had some of our ML high school students come in with some of their staff and talk to us about what's been really helpful for them, what are some adjustments we can make, or things they've experienced here that we can try to problem solve around. And our next meeting, we'll have the high school's SAFE group with LGBTQ plus students and staff. And so we have sort of various goals and groups we're trying to meet and speak with to help build sort of cultural and climate safety here. And then the final one is, part of this goal is building social emotional well-being and confidence in students. And our GT staff, for the first time at Woolwich this year, it was for everyone in the district, but it took place through the student leadership group, led their first talent show. And it had 15 student acts, 25 students, grade 4th through 8th grade. It was completely student run. They made almost $500, and it was just a really great way of sort of showcasing all the different ways we're trying to build positive mental health through different experiences like the play and sports and other leadership opportunities for students. And so I'm just really proud of that group and wanted to share that too. And that was my update. I still don't have the title numbers from the feds yet for all those grants, but as soon as I have them, I will shoot an email if it's sooner than our next meeting.
Great. Any questions for? Yeah, go ahead.
So Katie, I think I remember that we did the program with our 6th grade boys for a long time in Woolwich, and it was with the Saginaw Sheriffs, and I think it was called the DARE program back then. I'm kind of dating myself here, but is the program?
It's essentially the newer researched version that's supposed to have an even more positive impact. They sort of moved away from DARE for different reasons, but it's essentially this very similar idea. Yes.
Any other questions for Katie? Okay.
Katie, I'm really glad that we're circling back to this all are welcome concept of training, because I know we'll have new staff, and it's really nice that we can find a way to keep those previous trainings alive and active for them. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and one thing actually that's a great point that I should mention is even though Dustin's not working with us full time, Patrick and I did have him come and do the training everybody got this past August for new staff, and he's agreed to continue to do that every August. So everyone on their first day with us will get that messaging and understand the importance of that here in RSU1, which I think we can be really proud of.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? No. Okay. So now 12.2, this is an easy item. First reading of the fiscal year 2026 proposed school budget, and the reason the entire admin team is here, and we appreciate you all being here tonight. And so you want it? I'm going to hand it over to Patrick, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Somebody that has a budget workbook might have my cheat sheet with you, so please don't share that with anybody. But I'm referring to it now, but I can't find my hard copy anywhere. So if you have it, you have the answers to everything. I just want to let people know the Finance Committee met on March 3rd and 13th. And for those people that don't know the process, our administrators come in, principals and directors, and they go through a cost center review. So it's goals that they go over, it's staffing, it's student enrollment, and they also talk about needs, future anticipated needs that they have. And we also allow staff, the board wants to see what our staff feels they need for themselves to teach as well as for our students in the classroom. So every year we've done this, that first working document, or if you want to call it a first draft of our budget, is always high, so to speak. And then we look to the finance committee and to, board members that might be at that meeting to give us a direction. And so this year, that first reading of the budget, or first draft of the budget, I guess I would say, was very high. And so after that work session, the finance committee agreed that we need to reduce this significantly to get to a first reading. So before I go into a little bit of detail, the main drivers of this budget include salary and benefits. And part of that benefits is the main paid family medical leave, a loss of tuition, and that is just we have some less students from West Bath and Georgetown coming in just because they have less numbers of students in general. High cost of supplies, equipment, and contracted services, which I don't think surprises anybody. Special education tuition and multilingual services. You've heard that all year. The board has about our numbers increasing, and we have to meet those needs. So the administrative team went back and reduced non-labor by 1.2 million. And that is basically bringing all cost centers, I would say not all, I would say the majority, down to a flat increase or between a flat and a 3% increase. There's, again, it might be one that like ML where we couldn't reduce in that area. And we gave you the backup tonight. There's 4 pages. So that's why I had the administrative team here tonight. If you had questions about that non-labor and what that's causing them to do without, or if you have a specific question. With the labor piece, the team explored ways to achieve this. You break it? So,
Not buying another.
so with the labor, the team explored ways to achieve this by not filling certain positions that are vacated by retirements or resignations. And we've also taken a close look at class size numbers across the system. And there may be some shifting of positions as well within the district. We also, Deb did a salary adjustment, I would call it, for, we had, again, the retirements, resignations, and again, shifting and making that more, I guess, realistic's the right word, more accurate. However, there will be some staff that will be affected by this, whether they're shifted or, unfortunately, depending on the direction that we go in, that could be affected as far as not having employment with RSU1. So tonight, for the labor part, we're not going to go into detail about the labor components this evening, just because it's about timing. We haven't had a chance to speak to the staff that, and again, we're not talking about a lot. We're just talking about, I don't know the best way to say this, but we need time this week to talk to a handful of people to just talk about maybe some shifts or maybe how it's impacting them as far as their position in the district. And so we just don't feel it's fair to talk to you tonight and put that out there when we haven't had the opportunity to speak to somebody face to face. We have another meeting with the association tomorrow. We've already had one with them. So we're just trying to do this as tactfully and as thoughtfully as possible. So we will be able to share. I mean, we have a public forum next Monday, the 31st, and that's when we will be able to get into detail about where we're at with the labor and talk about non-labor further if you'd like to. So the first draft for this evening, the local contribution is an increase of 6.04%. And on total expenses, it's an increase of 3.87%. And your numbers might be off just a little bit. We did, it doesn't matter much, but percentage by towns, we have a Rouseck at minus 3.37. We have Bath at 6.04%, Phippsburg at 5.22%, and Woolwich at 8.04%. On that front cover sheet, for those of you that have it, the second row of boxes, I think, is important for you just to take a look at. I'm not going to walk through the whole thing, but it shows you in that first box the average subsidizable pupils, and it shows you, like for Rousick, it was 40 students K to 12 in 24-25. Now they have 36.5 students. And then you versus Woolwich, 393.5, 402.5. It's almost nine more students. And then you look at the total per pupil cost in the next column, how much subsidy they bring in. And then over on the right-hand side, you see the town assessment, which is the difference between those two numbers. And then down below, the local appropriation, we've always kept this on here. We go back to 5 years. And so you can see the average for each one of our towns over the past 5 years for a local appropriation. So I'll stop there and see if Lou, do you want to add anything from the finance committee perspective?
Not a lot. I just that. But oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I wasn't as specific as I should be about this, but the budget that the board has in front of them, and those of you that are here from the public, is that it was approximately, I'm going to use the term approximately, 1.2 million for non-labor and about 1 million for labor. So it's a $2.2 million reduction from that first rough draft where we had everything in the budget. And Deb, do you want to add anything else?
No, I think it might be good to point out that page 8 that breaks down the percentage of what. So basically on the last page of this green document, it just breaks down by category. Salaries are up 1.1 million, almost 4.93%, benefits, supplies, and that kind of thing. It just kind of makes it so that you can see more the drivers of what's in this budget. And then, of course, pages 1 through 7 is a breakdown by cost center, and that's how the whole budget has to be reported and, basically voted on at our May 27th meeting. We have to break it down by the cost centers, and that's required by DOE. So there's a detail of that. Okay.
Great, thanks, Deb. So as you're looking at it, and just so public understands, but when we go through with those couple meetings, hearing from everybody, and and we had the first setup, which was obviously 2.2 million more. That's when we realized how high that was, and that I still think the process is great in terms of we want to see what everyone wants, what would be ideal, and in some years we can accommodate some of that or more of that. But with especially the healthcare costs looking like they're going to go up almost 17% possibly for all staff, that's something we have no control over. There's a lot we don't have control over. And so when looking at all that, we want to maintain the integrity of as much as possible going into the next year. And so I just want to thank all the administrators and Patrick and Deb, and for going through all this to be thoughtful, to look at all of the different cost centers, to really say what can we do where we're not stripping everything, but we're still saving, so we can maintain, so we can go to the towns with what will be hopefully reasonable percentages in as far as an increase, to say this is what we really need to function as well as we can. We certainly would all like to be doing more, but I just wanted to say thank you and appreciate all the hard work. I know this isn't easy. This isn't fun. I thought after last year, this budget year will be easy compared to last year. It's not, and that's just how it is. So again, very proud to be part of a board that has such a great team of people who are working on this and care very much about their schools, the students, the staff, and how that ultimately interacts with the community. So thank you for that. Is there, as you all are looking at it, do you have while the admin folks are here, do you have questions or concerns about some of the stuff you're looking at that you'd like to ask. I know Jen does. You want to start, and then others will jump in. Go ahead.
I'm happy to wait.
Go ahead.
So on the first page, Patrick, the state subsidy, there's an increase in that, which is wonderful to see. But how, I know that we've got a continuing budget at the state level, and I know that I understand that secured some funding for that, for education, but is the increase in state subsidy, is that locked in at this point?
Yeah, I reached out to Robbie Feinberg from Main School Management last week, and he felt pretty confident that that vote that they had last week was that step one. I know there's another vote coming up, but he
Right.
felt like that pretty much locked in our state subsidy.
Okay, thank you. Still on page 1, I'm just going to say that I'm kind of sad to see that Woolwich has the greatest percentage increase. Again, from Bath, Phippsburg, and Woolwich. Around 6 numbers are a little hard to gauge because because of the amount of students are very different than their increase. As a former math person, I always don't like to see the word average because it takes outliers in. I think mean is a much better gauge there, but I guess it does kind of show trends. And I know that Woolwich has more students, but what I was trying to find, and I went back in the last 10 years, I tried to look through emails and I couldn't find some hard copies, but I was wondering, is there a way to get, not in a whole 10-year, but, several years of trending to see the town assessment, the total pupil costs, less the subsidy, that last box for Woolwich, let's say over the last 5 years or something like that? Is that a really hard thing to get to? I think it should be, because it's like on the front page of this, and I moved recently, so I couldn't find all my front pages, but I'm trying to track to see how that cost has been increasing every year. So that would be a question.
I have it since we became an RSU1.
Great. I'll come to your desk and get that. Thank you. And then to the last page, this is just something I'm trying to noodle through, but is there any way where we could look at the additions that we've had in the past, if they were all grant funded, or what the funding was for that? I was thinking about how programs start as grant funding and don't cost us anything, and then end up as permanent costs in the budget. And it's great because we test those programs out, relatively no cost to us, and we find they're really great programs, and then we want to incorporate them. But I was kind of wondering if that is a trend in increasing some of those things, our costs, our budget costs, by starting out for free and then increasing that. So in the last 2 budget years, is there any way of looking at those additions and finding out if those were COVID money, grant money, free money, or if they were programs that started within our budget? Okay. And that's that. And then I guess the reductions, I like things as cost centers because I can look at them clearer, but I just quickly went through this and I was wondering, I see a lot of reductions to academic programs. I don't see that many reductions to athletics. And I was wondering if the total athletic reduction, maybe not as dollar amounts, because I'm sure their budget's smaller, but as we're reducing all other areas, if we're seeing that same percentage reduction in athletics. So we're all sharing that throughout. Is that something that would be?
There's a couple of items within Morse and within BMS for athletics.
Yeah, very
And then also the labor, there has been some.
Okay. Just trying to see if we're cutting across the board, if everybody is taking a equal percentage of these rollbacks. Thank you.
And again, I don't know that any year it's, equal percentage of whatever term you just use, rollbacks or savings, because it's just a difficult, every year is a little different. And I think we do talk as an ad team about every cost center, I don't say participating isn't the right word, contributing to this effort. And so we do keep that in mind, and you will see some different things, as we go into next week as well.
Any other? Kurt?
that was just more of a detailed look at how much versus the original budget?
Yeah, some of it is cost shifts with the staffing that we have now versus the staffing we'll have next year. And that's not a perfect science because we haven't hired some of the people and know what step they'll come in at. But there was some adjustments that we felt we could make with that.
So it's not a one reduction. Salary. And then the question about the non-labor reductions in facilities. Everything?
I would say that we mentioned this at finance is that we have the capital improvement fund and we've been contributing to that and we've been fortunate we haven't used that. So big projects like the paving at Phippsburg, the HVAC controls at Woolwich, and what am I forgetting? Bathroom renovation at BMS. We pulled those out because we feel like we can take those and still have a healthy balance in that fund. So that was helpful to do.
Anything else, Kurt? Go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify, I see the reveal math, which I was so excited about, but we're still getting.
We're still getting it. Yeah, we're going to be able to use some grant funding and other sources for that. So, and I negotiated the contract with different years and whatnot, so we don't have to worry. Yeah.
So you'll still get supplies, just not through this.
Correct.
You have other avenues.
Correct. Yep.
Did you have other?
Nope, that's
Oh, okay. Anybody else? Is there, I don't know, I guess it's more a general question of, I mean, when all of you were looking at this and you were cutting different things for your centers, is that this is what you feel you can live with if you need to for this next year, I assume? Is that how you went about it? It was just what can we live with and what's essential you're keeping. I'm hoping there's nothing that you feel is essential that you absolutely had to cut. I mean, are we feeling that way, or are we feeling it's hard but we can do it for the non-labor? Is that I'm just trying to get a feel for, I know no one wants to cut. I don't want to cut either, but I'm just trying to I just want to make sure that there's, because as you know, she said, I know we can look for grants or we can look for alternative funding sources or things if we have to for something, if as we progress with the budget that we feel, oh, we really can't, it's a big mistake to leave, something out. I hope we continue to have those discussions. Because, so a lot of this stuff's important. And if we can, do without it for possibly a year and find alternative activities for the kids or things they can do that, still work, that's great. But I'm still somewhat concerned. And I know that I think Deb's going to work on possibly for next week, but soon if we start to have some numbers, because it's one thing to talk percentages, but if you can really look at a budget and say, oh, if we increase it this percent, an average house of X amount is going to have to pay this much more, then it becomes, oh, it's $2,000 more a year or it's $50 more a year. Those kind of numbers are very important because percentages can be misleading sometimes. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it is very high. Maybe it's not as bad as we thought. I don't know. But that can help inform how we proceed going forward. So I know we'll have those numbers at some point so we can continue with that discussion as well. And I appreciate you looking into that, Deb, because that will help clarify some things as well. As Rue, who's sitting over there, could tell you, as the city looks at for Bath anyway, and what they're going to go up with, and we haven't heard yet about the county. So it's like all this stuff together, but at least we can look at from our budget how much that may increase an individual's, depending on what town you're from, property tax. And I think that will help inform so we can make good decisions. That's all. Yeah, right. How the mill rate. So you really know, it might be, oh, wow, this is outrageous in one town, maybe not as bad in another town, or maybe, what does it look like? I don't know. But I'd like to. So I think that's important. And Yeah, so is there anything else regarding the budget? So we can let all these folks go home quietly and say, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, one more,
Yeah, no,
Kurt,
go ahead.
maybe not. So I just want to make sure I understand is that page 8, top first expense, the salary line. That means that the $1,102,000 increase is from last year. The difference between what our labor is this year versus last year, total labor.
Versus what we had budgeted last.
Okay.
So if you, I mean, we may have budgeted different staff, obviously, last year because we were budgeting, back in the January of the year before.
Right.
So this is based upon all salaries that have been negotiated and approved. And so that's where that comes from.
So is this our first year at the new contract with the new contract salaries?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
First year in the budget.
Right.
Yes. 24, 25 that we're in right now, we're paying those salaries, but last year we didn't know what those were going to be. So-
Right. First year
But
of the
this
budget.
is the first year of what we truly know.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? We can let them go, right? All right, well, thank you all, and for the admin team, you may all go home, drive slowly, and be safe, and thank you for being here. This is immense amount of work. I know it's just the beginning, but thank you so much. Appreciate it very much. All right. Okay. All right, so 12.3 is the first reading of board policies. This is no action, so it's a first reading regarding these policies, and they are GAB job descriptions, GBEC drug-free workplace, JFBB school choice, JLCD administration of medication in schools. And I think, Jen, were you going to comment on a couple things before? And again, not an action item tonight, but if people have questions, thank you.
Sure. So I'm going to speak to the school choice policy in terms of what we looked at this policy. So before it even came to the board, the policy committee has met twice on it in terms of we really wanted to make sure, because we had got some communication and requests about this policy, we wanted to make sure that we were looking deeply at the policy and considering those requests. We went through the policy and the process with Patrick about how this policy actually works. We found that any changes that or questions we had about the policy were really just very non-technical questions that we were very comfortable with Patrick's explanation of. It's a very fluid process, is that this is because it has to do with balancing the needs of the school buildings and the classrooms and the needs of the students coming in. The timing of how each request is made is very sequential. And so we have to balance all of that as we get ready for the school year. And Patrick's explanation of that very fluid balancing process and taking into considerations all the needs for students and the schools, that we as a policy committee felt very good about the current policy and about how it's being implemented. So it's a Rubik's Cube to fit all these things together, but we do think that every request is taken with deep consideration, and that we thought the process worked very well. So only very, as we say, in the routine, very just routine kinds of semantic changes that we made for any wording at all.
Any questions on that for you?
Great, so that's that, and we'll address it next time. Any questions in the meantime, let us know. 12.4 is overnight field trip requests. We have Morris High to East Orland, Morris going to Camp, is it Wavis, Jefferson, Morris High to, I'm not even going to pronounce it, in Warren, New Hampshire, and then Woolwich Central School going to DC, because it's that time of year again, right? To get that. So can we take this in one? Do you have a question? Okay.
So I really appreciated that the Woolwich Central request was able to fill in the funding source. I didn't see the funding source on the other 3 requests. And I also they look like they're 2 different forms. And I know one's a van request form and the other one is not requesting a van. But I don't know if that having a van or not having a van makes it different. I was just trying to, you know, like one form has pre-planning activities, the other one doesn't have pre-planning activities. I really appreciated on all the forms that we indicated the main learning results guiding principles, so how it hits the main learning results. It's really helpful to see that this is why we're doing these things, and it's good to have that backup. But I was just wondering what the funding sources for the Morse High School ones.
I mean, I know I can speak for the outing club. That's
what these
funded
are,
like
right?
it has been in the past, but there's one, the Camp Wavis is different. But
Yeah,
No, it
yeah,
is. What's that?
the 2 outing club ones are funded through our co-curricular funds that we put forward for the outing club, which is also, it's a lot of that is grant reimbursed through Teens to Trails.
Okay.
And the question about the forms is that is one's a smaller group, so we're going with a van, and so just the van request is slightly different than the just purely field trip permission when
Okay.
we're taking a bus. And we can be more cognizant on the putting those numbers in for the accounts.
I like the fact that it's grant or non-grant. I think that would be great to see. Just as we're looking at all non-labor costs, it's nice to see that this is grant funded. So this is not, I think that really helps. So yeah, the funding sources adding in there would be great. And then, yeah, I think that was I love that I noticed that there was a pre-planning activities on the Woolwich form that's on that form that isn't on this form. And I don't know if that's need that or not. I just different. But that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. And then what is it? The other one is the Safe Club. Is that what it?
Right.
What's what's the Camp Wavis one? I'm sorry.
That's an
Just-
annual trip that our Safe Club goes on for students who elect and, parent permission and whatnot to go to a program that Camp Wavis runs called Rainbow Ball.
Oh, okay.
For students in Safe Clubs statewide.
Excellent.
Attend that. Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. It's good to have in the record. All right, so can we take that as one? May I have a motion? And Megan seconds. All right. All in favor? Thank you all very much. And now we move to personnel items, 13.0.
Yeah, we have a few resignations. Just like to recognize these people. Amy Henderson Goldenberg is grade 3 teacher at Phippsburg, and thank her for 2 years of service. We have Katie Walker, Secretary Dyke Newell. Thank her for, I think we have her down as 5.5 years of service, but we'll call it 6. And Sarah Rent, our special ed director, thank her for 3 years of service. So all be done at the end of this school year. Retirements, Jean McGuigan, who's an ed tech at Morse High School, but has been in a variety of schools throughout the district. Thank her for 30 years in the district. And Kim Kendall, who's a special ed secretary for the district around IEPs, and she's located in central office now for 39 years in the system. And then 13.1C, maybe I should have left Shufang on the agenda for last time, but there was confusion about whether she was going to be able to join us. So I didn't have, and she ended up starting on March 10th. So it's more of an FYI for you. I did give you her credentials and her, in the backup. So we're pleased to have her. And so anyway, that's it.
Okay, board goals, Jen.
Thank you, Katie, for helping us reach our goal number 2, safe and supportive schools. And I would even venture to say that we've also met the goal 3 pre-K programming and goal 4 facility goals because they are part of our budget process. So I think we've hit 3 of those goals.
Okay, so what's going to happen now is we're going to go into executive session, and when we come back, it's just a couple announcements. So there's no reason, people don't have to stick around. So this is executive session pursuant to economic development, 1 MRSA 4056C, and we need we have to motion to go in.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? I'm sorry.
We go to culinary.
Okay. Yep. All right.
Guys, we're going to go to culinary.
I love that music
Oh
demonstration.
my gosh, that was awesome.
are we all here? Can I have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? And then the last two items are simply that we're meeting next Monday, and that's also at 6. And here at 6. And that then it's end of what is April 28th is our next board meeting.
Unless the board, after Monday night, if you feel like we should have another public forum, then we can talk about that.
Okay, yeah, if we need to do that beforehand. Okay, great. Adjourn? And yes?
Yes.
All in favor? Thank you.